Welcome back, folks. Nice to have you along. We carry on talking about sport in the province, sport in the Western Cape, across the 6 districts. Right, so over the last, for a very long time, you'll know that climbing is one of the very active sports in the Western Cape. Certainly got the athletes doing really well, and you'll remember, of course, towards the end of last year, climbing, in fact, had Cape Town Climbing hosted, or Western Cape Climbing hosted, the African Intercontinental Climbing Championships. So we've spoken about climbing on a number of occasions, but of course we try and stay up to date with our federations. And of course, back on the line now from Western Cape Climbing is Chris Naude. Chris, nice to have you back.
Hi, great to be back. Great to see you again, and great chatting to all the people out there.
Yeah, Chris. So you probably heard me do that little summary there. Climbing is certainly, I mean, it's now 3 months or 2.5 months since you did your Africa Intercontinental Championships. Have I got that right?
That's correct. Yeah, it was the International Continental Championship, which was also the selection competition for the one of the selection competitions for the Olympic Games. So out of that came two South African climbers who will be going to Tokyo in a couple of months.
So we've got 2 athletes from South Africa on their way to Olympics. I mean, that is something that you guys must be very proud of in South Africa.
Oh, it's super cool. It's been a long dream, and really the reason why our national federation started in the first place was because of this push to try and be included in the Olympic Games, and this is the first time that climbing is in the Olympic Games. So it's a lot of firsts for us, which is also really exciting times.
Do you think that with COVID, the Olympics this year, that there maybe is a sense amongst the athletes that it's even more important to get to the Olympics this year?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, there's a lot of doubt. Some people are saying it's not going to happen. I think it will probably happen, but it's quite a lot of there's a number of challenges in the way, travel being the biggest thing, and spectators. The fact that there's no spectators and what have you is going to be not going to be the same experience as it normally is. But look, it's important that it happens. It's important that we get there and we tick that box and then compete as best we can, and then start training for 2024 as well.
So we hold the African Intercontinental Championships here in Cape Town at City Rock. A lot of publicity for the event. All climbers obviously knew about the event, so a lot of exposure. Now if we look post the event, after the event, what has that done for climbing in Cape Town?
Oh, it's been huge. It's been such a big thing for us. We've established contacts with better contacts with the international community as well, and there's a lot of people really keen to put their effort and help us and give us advice and coaching and all sorts of things like that. So it's really put us in the spotlight, which has been fantastic.
Do you have more people coming to sign up and say, well, I didn't know this was here, or how do I can get started?
Yeah, look, it's been a bit of a slow start to the year. So there's been a lot of talk, but not as much action as we might have liked. But with us moving up a level or two in COVID regulations, we can now start holding proper competitions and so on. We started off planning the year with no competitions really, or not in the normal way we would do them. But now we can open them up again and start having proper competitions, which that always is the exciting part for people, and that's when we'll start getting all the sign-ups again. But we have had very interestingly, we've had a lot of inquiries from schools saying how do we get into climbing, which has really been exciting.
So tell me a little bit about schools then. I mean, clearly we've got an uptick on people who want to start climbing, whether it be social or competitive. Clearly it's something that schools can easily direct their athletes to with I wouldn't say too much concern, but with an understanding that there's Western Cape Climbing, and that you guys have got the skills to help the kids.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a very interesting spin-off from COVID. Yeah, not that you were looking for positives in that, but
Yeah.
climbing it's an individual sport. It's a non-contact sport. Um, a climber is on the wall on his own at any one particular time. So although it's very social, it's socially distanced as well by virtue of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that has kind of made people sit up and take notice. And then there's a couple of other very interesting things where we have psychologists who have been working with using climbing as sort of, I don't want to say therapy, but emotional strengthening,
Yeah.
and looking at people sort of working through depression and anxiety and all of the things that COVID increased in our lives. Climbing is a very good way of assisting to decrease that.
A final question. One of the obviously, when we speak to a lot of sports codes, we think about facilities. We think about hockey. We talk about astroturfs. And when we talk about rugby, we talk about rugby fields. Climbing is all about a climbing wall.
Yeah.
How difficult is it to set up a climbing wall? I mean, if you're a school or a club, you could probably set up a climbing wall reasonably easily.
Well, this is the thing, it doesn't take a huge footprint. So we've proposed a sort of standard wall for small clubs and schools. I can get to why standard wall and not different ones at each one, but that's another story. But you're looking at sort of 15 by 6 meters, which is a relatively small footprint compared to, let's say, cricket or rugby. So the footprint is small, which suits a lot of schools, and the total cost is not unbelievably. I mean, you can do various different things to keep the costs lower or higher depending on where you want to pitch your wall, but it's not unbelievably expensive compared to a lot of sports.
I absolutely love the idea. I love the idea of having a climbing wall at a club or even in a park somewhere, or at a school, and thinking about how little space it takes. Probably, I'm not sure about maintenance, but I don't see too many people climbing up the climbing wall to go and steal the lights at the top of the climbing wall, unless they know how to climb.
Well, yeah. Look, there are some safety concerns around having it totally exposed, but we've sort of suggested that schools start off with a bouldering wall, which is relatively low and it's got mats at the bottom of it, so people are not going to seriously injure themselves.
If people do want to invest in a climbing wall, could they get in touch with Western Cape Climbing?
Absolutely, yeah. Okay. We can put them in touch with. We'll come and have a look, and we've got a couple of us who have got the time and inclination to go out and look at the sites and see what would be the most suitable option for them, and put them in touch with the right people. So,
Chris, we'll leave it at that. We certainly look like we're going to have some more chats then about the how one sets up a climbing wall and the details around that, and we're looking forward to another conversation.
Yeah, I'll definitely keep in touch with that. I'm heading up to Grahamstown to go and build a school wall there next month. Not in the Western Cape, but we're putting them up all around the country, so that we can develop school climbing as a more common school sport.
Thanks, Chris. We'll leave it at that, and we'll of course say to you and all the athletes out there, stay safe, and we'll chat again soon.
Thanks so much, JP. Good chatting again.
There we go, folks. Chris Naude, Western Cape Climbing. Well, there's always something coming out of sport. There's always something interesting, something dynamic, and of course hosting the Africa Intercontinental Championships here in Cape Town last year has brought more awareness for Western Cape Climbing, and now we see more schools looking to participate in climbing, and in fact even schools and clubs starting to look at how they set up their own climbing wall. And folks, over the next few weeks, we'll talk a little bit more about that, about how you can get involved in that. Remember, if you are interested in that, just go and get in touch with Western Cape Climbing. Let them help you out. We'll take an ad break. When we come back from the break, we carry on talking about sport in the province. Back in a sec.